Today, we're diving into a story that's a wild mix of incredible futuristic technology and some really old-school corruption. We're talking about the shocking scandal behind Japan's maglev train, a project so ambitious it ended up exposing a conspiracy at the very top of the country's biggest corporations.
So first, just try to picture this, a train that doesn't ride on wheels at all. It levitates, floating silently above its tracks, and then rockets through mountains at over 500 kilometers per hour. Now that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But this was the actual vision for the Chuo Shinkansen maglev line, Japan's most ambitious infrastructure project ever.
But here's the thing. This incredible symbol of national pride was hiding a massive secret. The whole project became the center of this huge bid rigging scandal, a conspiracy cooked up by the biggest names in Japanese construction. A dream derailed. So the big question is, how on earth did the world's fastest train project get tangled up in what was essentially an old-school corporate cartel?
The $64 billion project. Yeah, to really get the crime here, you first have to understand just how massive this thing was. This was way more than just a train.
Let's start with the money. The first phase alone was estimated to cost around 9 trillion yen. That's roughly 64 billion US dollars. I mean, that makes it the most expensive infrastructure project in Japan's modern history. The amount of cash flowing through this was just staggering. And what do you get for all that money? Well, you get speed. Unbelievable speed. The maglev was set to slash the travel time between Tokyo and Nagoya from over an hour and a half down to just 40 minutes. We're talking about a complete game changer for how people travel, connecting Japan's biggest cities like never before. But, getting that kind of speed is a serious engineering puzzle. The track has to be almost perfectly straight. And that's why an incredible 85% of the route was designed to run through these enormous tunnels bored deep under the Japanese Alps. I mean, what a monumental undertaking.
So who do you even call to build something on this scale? You call in the giants. In Japan, that means the super general contractors, or as they're known, the Big Four. These companies, Kojima, Shimizu, Teisei, and Obayashi, are the absolute titans of the industry. It was pretty much a given they'd be the ones leading this project.
An old-school cartel. Now, on the surface, these four companies were supposed to be rivals, fiercely competing for these contracts. But behind closed doors, they were rigging the entire game.
And to really understand what they were up to, you need to know this one Japanese word, dango. It's the term for collusive bidding. Basically, it's a shady but unfortunately long-standing practice where companies meet in secret to decide who's going to win which contract. It completely kills any real competition and lets them keep prices artificially high.
And according to the investigators, here's pretty much how it all went down. Senior execs from the Big Four would hold these secret meetings, often in Tokyo restaurants. First, they'd just pre-assign a winner for each of the big contracts. Then, they'd coordinate their bids. The designated winner puts in a high but still winning bid. And the others? They just submit even higher dummy bids to make it look legitimate. And voila, the spoils are divided up, making sure every company gets a nice fat piece of the pie. And would you look at the result? Out of the first 22 major contracts for the project, check out how evenly things are split. Obayashi, Shimizu, and Teisei each got 4. Kojima got 3. I mean, come on. In a truly competitive process, the odds of it working out this perfectly are basically 0. This was a massive red flag. This wasn't competition, this was coordination. The dominoes fall. So for a while, their little scheme was working perfectly. But then, in late 2017, investigators found a loose thread, and they started to pull. And once they started pulling, the dominoes fell fast. In December 2017, prosecutors launched these dramatic raids on the headquarters of the construction giants. By March of the next year, all 4 companies were formally indicted. But that's when the case took a really fascinating turn. Once they were all charged, the cartel basically split in 2. You had Obayashi and Shimizu, who decided to cooperate. They confessed early on, admitted their part in the whole dango scheme, and even testified against their old partners. And on the other side, you had Kojima and Teisei. They denied everything and decided to fight the whole thing in court. And as you'll see, that decision had huge consequences for everyone.
Justice on the line? So after all of that, what did the final verdict actually look like?
Well, the judge in the case did not hold back. He said that having Japan's 4 biggest construction companies rig bids on a national project severely damaged public trust. It was a really strong condemnation of what they'd done, a total betrayal.
So here are the final penalties. Kojima and Taisei, the two companies that fought the charges, got hit with the biggest fines, about $2.3 million each. Obayashi and Shimizu, who cooperated, they got lighter fines. A couple of executives also got suspended prison sentences, which means, importantly, no actual jail time.
But okay, let's put these numbers in perspective for a second. The grand total of all the fines for all four companies came to about $8 million. Now, let's compare that to the prize they were all colluding over, a $64 billion project. The punishment was a tiny, tiny fraction of a single % of the prize. And really, that's what leaves us with this final, critical question. This whole scandal exposed a deep-rooted culture of collusion. It was a massive betrayal of public trust on a flagship national project. But when the financial penalty for a multi-billion-dollar conspiracy is barely more than a rounding error, does it really stop anyone from doing it again? What does it say about corporate accountability when it really, really seems like the crime pays?